Hi, we'll call the meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Give everybody a minute to get situated. Just a couple of announcements for everybody. We have two of the cases on the agenda are being continued to the March 5th, 2024 Planning Commission agenda. So items 3A and 3B, Cubby Ranch 3rd Edition, and items 5A and 5B on Brecky's Edition, they will be heard in March. So we'll take no testimony today, and there's no staff presentations, and so those items will be continued. If there's anyone here to testify on those items, is anybody here for 3 or 5? No. Okay. If that, we'll move on. Commission will take a motion to approve the order of agenda with those changes.
So move.
Second.
Thank you, Scott and John. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the minutes from January 2nd.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 1. We'll ask Donald up to the podium to introduce it.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Donald Kress of the Department of Planning and Development. Mr. Chairman, you want to make sure that Commissioner Shuey's
Thank
tuned in
you.
there?
Yeah, Commissioner Shuey, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
And we can hear you, just to confirm. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our first item today, as the chairman has stated, is North Point Industrial Edition. This property is located outside of the city of Fargo right now. Item D1 relates to this project as well. It's the review of the annexation, so that this property will have to be annexed before the plat is completed and before the property is developed. But it's on the west side here of 57th Street, north of 19th Avenue. The proposal is to zone this to industrial here. You may recall that your commission recommended for approval the Veterans Industrial Subdivision across the street here last year. It is an undeveloped property at this time. Drain 45, County Drain 45 is the western boundary. And 57th Avenue is over, or 57th Street rather, is over here, 19th Avenue North. And then looking the other way, back where here, it's again just an undeveloped field at the time. The zoning here, as you see, is agricultural, and the proposed zoning is LI Limited Industrial, and then PI, Public and Institutional, for the lots that are owned by the government entities, which is our usual practice. Again, as you see in your staff report, this property is designated commercial and industrial as on the growth plan, and limited industrial covers both of those, so there was no need to do a growth plan change on this project here. Here's the plat. There's a lot of lines on this plat here, Commissioners, so I did darken them up here a little bit. Pardon my always slightly misaligned drawing here. These two lots on the east side are County Drain 45 and the required protection lot. Those are zoned to PI. The rest of these lots here will be zoned LI Limited Industrial for development. And this small lot down here, this is lot 6, block 3. This is actually owned by the city of West Fargo. It's a lift station. It was annexed when the Veterans Industrial Subdivision addition was developed across the street. And just to sort of clean things up, we asked the city of West Fargo to be part of this plat, and they agreed. So this is just a little lot for them. That's just to make that an official lot there. The applicant, Mr. Chad Wendell, the property owner, is here along with Jesse Riley representing him. Staff's recommended motion is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen. Thank you, Commissioners. That concludes staff's presentation on the North Point Industrial Edition.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for staff? Seeing none. Is the applicant here and wishes to add anything? Anyone else in the audience wish to add anything for or against? Any other comments? None? We'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Shuey,
Aye.
Foltz,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. The motion passes. Moving on to item number 2. This one looks familiar.
Yes, sir, thank you. Items 2A, B, and C are the Interstate Business District Edition. Commissioners, I want to point out that even though, as the chairman said, this one may look familiar to you, this is a new application and we are treating it and presenting it as such. So again, the property here is located on the west side of I-29, north of County 20 or 40th Avenue North here. It's a 122-acre parcel. The requested amendments or entitlements are a major subdivision, a growth plan amendment, and a zoning change. Again, just a couple quick shots. Still largely undeveloped property. Memory Fireworks, as you're familiar with here, is not part of the subdivision. So just a couple shots from a couple days ago there. The growth plan, the existing growth plan shows commercial, low to medium density residential and park or open space here. The proposed growth plan amendment, this will remain the same, this commercial designation here. Commercial will be extended up here along the west side and industrial along the east side. The current zoning here is ag, and there's just a little piece of the adjacent op zoned property up here. This is the LI zone property referred to in your staff report. The proposed zoning will be shown here. GC general commercial all along the west side here, including lot 9, except for the 2 government-owned lots, and then LI limited industrial on the east side. North is to the one side here. So, and this lot 2 is a city-owned detention basin. Lot 1 is will be owned by Southeast Cass Water Resources District as a drain protection lot. And as noted here, that the general commercial and limited industrial zone lots do have a conditional overlay that is included in your packet. The plat here, again, creates 15 lots, except for the 2 government-owned lots. They're all intended for development, either commercial or residential. Commissioners, there are a couple of comment letters in your packet, and then after the packet went out, we did receive some additional ones. So we emailed out a packet this morning, about 9 o'clock this morning, and that's also printed out for you today. That's the same packet. And then after that packet was prepared, we got one more letter, so we just have that in the printed packet there for you, and that does include a detailed letter and a petition signed by many of the area property owners. Make sure we covered everything. So the property owner, Chad Wendell, the property owner, Trent Duda, is with us this afternoon, and his team and his engineer. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation for Interstate Business District.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for Donald?
I guess, in a nutshell, what changed from the original application?
There are a couple changes. I think the applicant's going to perhaps detail this more.
Okay.
Real quickly, as you may recall, this lot 9 was originally to be zoned LI limited industrial. It is now zoned, supposed to be zoned general commercial, and there are a couple additions to and refinements of the conditional overlay. So
Donald, are you going to go through those refinements for us, or?
as I would do, I have a slide on it. If the commission would direct, we can do that. Whatever is your pleasure, sir.
Might as well. I mean, let's
Okay.
do that on the front end so we understand what's the difference are.
I got to change PowerPoints here in a second. Okay, so so block 1 there, which is I should have the maps up at the same time here, but which is the southernmost lot. That's the one that Dr. Knudsen owns. One concern of the residents here was crushing of any materials was prohibited with the conditional overlay, and they talk about storage of crushed material. This was added, with wording from the applicant regarding an unfinished product. So that was that one. For the rest of the commercially zoned lots, all on the west side, again, that part about the storage of concrete or asphalt rubble. This and the berm got a little more detailed here, mix of deciduous and evergreen trees, and specified size and spacing for the trees, which are some things. These numbers are actually out of our residential protection standards, so they're a standard number for the city. And then requiring the berm and trees all installed as one project prior to building permit issue on the first project on these lots. So that would all be done at once. And then on the industrial zone lots on the east side, again, the part about the storage of concrete rubble, that's the only thing that changed on that side. These regulations also deal with billboards, so that's the same as the last time. And those are the main changes here. There's a couple technical changes to the plat. There's an additional, I'll go back to my other PowerPoint here. There is an additional negative access easements here and some access things, some technical things on the plat. But other than that, that's a summary of the changes, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any other questions for Donald? Art, go ahead and then Donald.
Donald, I saw in there, when it talks about the 4 billboards,
Yes, sir.
and is that kind of ambiguous language? Basically, you can have 3 of 4? I mean, it just says not more than 4 can be digital?
Let me go back to that one here. So, hang on. Let me just look over here. Yes, so you could have, yes, I believe that's intent. There's no more than 4 signs, and not all of them can be digital. So you could have, Mr. Williams, is that what you had in mind with that one? On the digital billboards?
Yeah, the intention was for billboards that could be digital.
But it says in there that all 4 can't be digital, right?
I believe that's an error.
Oh, okay.
Staff report.
Okay,
We'll fix that. Thank you, sir.
In essence, the spacing is so that it follows the code as it currently stands right now.
okay.
For
It just
digital.
seemed ambiguous to say not more than 4. It didn't make sense. It's like, well, then pick 2 or 3 or some number rather than, obviously you can have 3 of 4, if that's what it said.
We will make that revision, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Technically, no more than 4 will be allowed on that entire stretch adjacent to interstate.
Donald, I asked this because it was in one of the letters that we received.
Yes, sir.
In the conditional overlay, it mentions unfinished product.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the difference between unfinished and finished product?
I can, but I think Mr. Duda would do a better job of explaining that than I would.
Okay.
So,
Any other questions for Donald? Seeing none, we'll ask the applicant, Mr. Duda, up. If you're willing, please introduce yourself for the record.
I'm Trent Duda with ARD Properties. To answer your question about the unfinished product, and so if you have a concrete pile that's just tore up from this building and you make it into a pile, it has to then be crushed and then it becomes a sellable product, like a crushed concrete product or a class 5 product that you sell as gravel on roads, and it's a finished product that way. So there will be no piles of rubble that are up on the sites. So I'm Trent Duda with ARD Properties, and thanks for seeing me again. Before I start, I want to clear up a little bit of misinformation. In 2014, there was a heavy industrial plant that was proposed in my neighborhood where I live in Horace. My neighbors and I opposed this. We opposed this because it was for heavy industrial, not light industrial. The proposed site would have had a rail spur at about 100 feet away from our neighborhood with rail shipments of steel every week. This is different than light industrial. This is heavy industrial. A few years later, Visto Industrial Park was proposed about 1,000 feet away from our neighborhood, which we did not oppose. We did not oppose that industrial park. And that industrial park had gravel roads. It did not have paved roads like we're proposing here. The industrial park has gone in. It's a very nice industrial park, has a lot of nice buildings, including cabinet shops. The You Betcha building is out there, shop condos, Ryan Brothers Heating and Cooling, A&L Landscaping. So just to clarify, I am okay with limited industrial being near my house. Not heavy industrial, but limited industrial. I think the negotiations we have had with the neighbors from Riley's Acres and me, going from all LI to cutting it to more than half is a great compromise. You know, I went more than half going to GC. And then I pushed the LI all the way to the east side of the property. And then I also cut out the crushed concrete, which they did not want. I listened to the neighbors and took out the crushed concrete or crushing of any concrete. I have put in a berm with trees to buffer them, which is what they wanted, which isn't even needed as per the code with the city of Fargo for buffering. I don't need to do that, but I still did that. We will be showing you pictures of buildings and zoning where this has been done with the city of Fargo in smaller distances is what we are saying. We are like just about 300 feet away with our GC from any neighborhood, and we're over 900 feet away with a limited industrial from any property line. We are not asking for anything out of the norm. The city planning department has approved this plan many times now. The planning and zoning approved this last time. I have changed it again to accommodate some more with adding GC to the lot to the north to avoid having LI leach into the future neighborhoods, which some on the planning and zoning council wanted last time, but it was voted down by you guys to do that. But I just added it in myself, which I was fine with last time also. The 2024 comprehensive plan members have told the city planners that they are in line with the recommendations of LI and GC. I ask you guys to approve this as you did last time, and I appreciate your feedback.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any, co-applicant? Sure, go ahead.
Hi, Tom Nelson with Swan Real Estate. I'm going to maybe be a little redundant here. He showed some images for the property itself and just kind of the layout, but I wanted to share a little with you guys about the distances, the setbacks, some of the other zones in Fargo that are definitely closer than what this is. So I think the moment I hit this, does it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is, again, you guys are familiar with this, is the map of the location. I wanted to do some clarifying because I think in many of the other conversations, the zoning and the conditional overlay, I don't think we've got a chance to maybe kind of go through that just a little bit, and I don't want this to take super long, but you know, the concerns of a lot of the industrial or the manufacturing of chemicals and things that have been brought up don't fit in either the GC or the LI zoning for Fargo. And on top of that, we've got a conditional overlay. So today you're going to probably hear about some definite concerns, and we respect those concerns. And as Mr. Duda stated, you know, he wouldn't want heavy industrial in his own neighborhood. He's been down this path, and I know that was brought up a couple of different times when we've been before your group. And I'm glad today that he shared that, because yes, he's fine with an LI or a general commercial, and most of us, I think, would be if it's done in the right way. And I think in this case, it's definitely being done in the right way with lots of buffering and overlay criteria. So I won't go into that because Donald already did. So this is just basically a map showing kind of the distances from the edges of the property for residential to where Interstate Business District is. And let me just skip ahead one here. There it is. Just for illustrations, we have the number of feet from the leading edge of the residential property. When you blow it up like that, looks like I wasn't quite in the right spot, but that is the right measurement. 290 feet is where it is from the residential to the first GC lot, which again far exceeds any setback or buffer that's in Fargo in any other place that we've been able to find. Then you take into account that the LI is 926, just over 926 feet in distance from where the lot residential to where the LI would start. Wanted to just show a little quick example of, Riley's Acres is just kitty corner there. This is Fargo's extraterritorial, and where the little highlighted area is property that is currently all being developed as light industrial and general commercial. Most of it is going towards light industrial. That is within 216 feet of Riley's Acres. And again, I guess I would like to remind everybody here that before Trent first bought this property, he did go to Riley's Acres in their extraterritorial area, and they had sent him a letter stating that they would accept him into their city. They knew about the concrete crushing. They knew about the LI and the GC. And he found out shortly after that, because of some agreements between Fargo and Riley's Acres, that he couldn't be in Riley's, but he'd already bought the property, and he'd done his diligence by getting the city of Riley's Acres to say, yep, we're on board. So I just want to show a couple of different zones in town. Rose Creek, golf course, a nice community in our area. We've got some distances here of 214 feet from light industrial to residential. Actually, the measurement from here to here that we didn't get on the slide was 580 feet from PKG contracting to the residential in this direction, and 110 feet from this LI to the residential right in here. So again, everything about interstate business district is far exceeding any of the setbacks and buffers that you would see anyplace else in Fargo. There's nowhere we've been able to find anything like. So again, we used this example in the past of the harmonious neighborhood there is GC, which is Fleet Farm. You've got a couple of contractors that are over in the corners that are all LI. So again, maybe being redundant, but I just wanted to make sure we go through a few of these. And I'll just go through a couple of these, and you guys, if you have questions, can ask. So again, there's some distances on there just to show some of the measurements from different places in town. If you have questions, you feel free to stop me if anybody has anything. And again, just for explanation, the red is your GC, and the dark gray is your light industrial. This slide here is, I wanted to share this one a little bit. So this is actually the Interstate Business District right here. This is Memory Fireworks or the storage. This is the Prairie Estates development, and this, of course, is Riley's Acres. In the county code, some of those red are already zoned commercial properties, and there are commercial businesses operating within Prairie Estates. Many of the businesses that are in Prairie Estates would be considered light industrial by the current city of Fargo's zoning. The buildings and the construction, the businesses are operating there. I'm going to go back to, again, just how the buffers, for this development, they're talking about an earthen berm, trees. This is an example, again, of the Fleet Farm area, how that works in conjunction very, very well. And then some examples of the types of businesses. So I know when this has been brought up before, the discussion of chemicals and being concerned about debris, and obviously the concrete crushing was taken off the table. This type of development is going to be a lot of this type of buildings. That this is what we're going to be looking to try to have built on the building or on the property. So I'll just share a few of those. Again, the buildings of today for GC and for light industrial are not the buildings we all remember from 30, 40 years ago. There's a lot more architectural detail, and I just want to share this a little bit. This is some of the commercial development, again, that is going on in the area of Riley's Acres. Those are just some site work photos that were taken last summer. Again, the area's on the grow. Some of this has already started before Trent got into doing his development, and these are just some examples of a lot that's going on. And yeah, it's going to change the dynamic of the area, just as South Fargo's dynamic has changed over the last 20 years. So here are a couple of benefits of a development like this that I think, as a city are important and as a community. The property tax base has a potential of anywhere between $870,000 to $1.4 million annually. It does obviously depend on the value of the improvements to the property, so hence the range. Currently, Amazon's is somewhere in the range of about $1.3 million worth of annual property tax for this region. So obviously the potential of sales tax revenue for the state, county, and city. Job development, which our local EDCs and chambers are always looking for helping businesses grow or trying to bring businesses to the area. We also see it as an opportunity to retain or attract people to the region that, they will call it home. Again, continue to grow in the FM area to attract new industries and technology companies. We've all seen it. We've all seen the companies that come that are looking that they like the Fargo-Moorhead area because of the two interstates, the proximities, but they're also looking for easy in and out, ingress and egress. So which interstate business development does check all those boxes? So that's all I have. Any questions?
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to add anything on this item? Please introduce yourself for the record.
Paula Peterson. I am a resident of Prairie Estates, which is Riley's Acres ETJ, and live right across from 45th Street North. On behalf of our community, we've been here before. I'm here to continue to outline some of the concerns and objections that we have as residents, along with many residents of the city of Riley's Acres. Although this is a new application, not much has changed. As you've heard, there's been a few points. But what has changed is now even more residents have concern, which you would have read in the letter that you received in your packet from the city of Riley's Acres regarding the survey that they did of their residents. There's several points I would like to cover. Is the proposed change consistent with surrounding land uses, both existing and future? Despite that this might meet LDC requirements in terms of distance on paper, these are just guidelines. You have to understand the contents of where this is being inserted into and the important fact that it is surrounded by existing residential and future residential as outlined on the maps. There are currently no existing tree lines, and anything that will be planted is going to take probably 15 years. We've asked for those buffers and thank Trent for his offers. Unfortunately, deciduous trees have been added, but they only have leaves for 6 months. So it's not really going to provide much of a visual barrier for them. Also, trees will be 50 feet apart. Again, as we say, we're looking at a very long time before we have an actual buffer. When the 2007 growth plan was created, and this was zoned originally as agriculture and then proposed to be residential and then a park, Patio World and Memory Fireworks were already there, yet the planning department still deemed as the best possible use was for residential in the future. There does not seem to be enough strong evidence nor proof of demand for industrial in this particular area. How does this proposed change work with the larger area in terms of land use balances and other factors? It does not make sense to put industrial next to existing residential. To quote past comments from commission staff, this is unique and this is complex. Fargo does not have good examples of dropping this type of zoning next to residential. A lot of the examples that you saw before were historically things that happened after the fact. During the open house meeting in January, we as a group propose general commercial across all lots. We do not want any type of limited industrial because it includes manufacturing and production. This is a wide open list, which cannot be controlled. Despite our asking and talking about it, we asked if there are certain types of businesses that could be taken off of that list. That was denied. In addition, there are those concerns that could bring additional truck traffic, but it includes not only manufacturing and production, but also warehousing. And at what hours would that be happening? There could be potential environmental and air quality concerns if things are not mandated, additional noise, and more. We also do not want storage of any finished product. Although unfinished was added, we would like to make sure that there is no finished product that can be stored on any of those lots. Will the approval of the zoning change adversely affect the condition or value of the property in the vicinity? This has been marked as criteria satisfied. However, the planning department has indicated and has not shown any documentation, research, or studies to demonstrate that this would not adversely affect the condition or value of the properties in the vicinity. We have provided to you quotes from real estate professionals that we would face up to a 25% decrease in market value because of what would be located across the road. This would be a decrease no matter if it is in an up or down market from a housing perspective. This is what we're fighting for, properties that have been there for over 50 years. Yet this seems to be brushed under the table and ignored, and that's why we're fighting so hard in terms of what type of zoning is appropriate for this area. Is this really what you would like to live next to? There are currently no good examples, as we've stated before, where the city has put in industrial zoning next to residential. It is not just about acceptable feet away, it is about an entire impact. Every project should be unique and designed in that manner. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. There is no current updated growth plan to support this. We ask you to take this option off the table, and our proposal would be to change it to all general commercial. This is an opportunity for the city of Fargo to consider doing the right thing and being a good neighbor to the existing communities and listening to our concerns. Let's keep this industrial to the east of I-29, west of 19th Avenue, or 12th Avenue, where it belongs. Thank you much for listening and for consideration of all elements of this proposal.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? If you have additional speakers, you're welcome to come up behind the podium too. You can move things along. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Kyla Dubord. My home and property are on the west side of 45th Street North, facing east toward the proposed Interstate Business District addition. I did write a letter. It was added afterwards to the packet. I'll highlight those parts and pieces of the big impacts that they have on me. The first item is how it will reduce our home values. This is something we have stated that it's a 25% hit on us. There hasn't been a whole lot of refutable evidence on the other end that we won't. Increase traffic and reduce safety. There's certain things that can be done to reduce that with 40th Avenue, but the gravel road, which is the one that goes by our homes, there hasn't been a whole lot of work to make that into a safer place. We know we're gonna have traffic, it's gonna be bigger traffic. This one hits me personally, like the lack of vision. There is no vision for this plan of what they want to do. And what is proposed doesn't match what the vision supplement would be, which would be the current growth plan. This is placement of industrial in a sliver of land. West is existing and growing residential neighborhoods. Technically, you could consider Harwood up there by Lake Shore. Fargo, you guys are planning to put residential zoning for that. Riley's Acres and us. A lot of the examples that have been shown over time that show industrial, these were zoned before residential. I think we need to kind of hit on that part of like the PKG example yes, it's close in feet, but what was built first, right? What was the expectation of these homeowners going into that? So it's not just the feet, it's not the magic number of feet, it's the order of operations of how we got here. Fleet Farm was called general commercial. We are okay with general commercial. That's not something that we're fighting for. We actually would rather have general commercial than industrial. So we're showing a lot of this commercial development, and that's not what we're opposing. We're opposing the manufacturing and production part. What can be included in manufacturing and production doesn't fit. We don't see that as a fit. It's a huge bucket. It's a variety of businesses. How I've kind of melted down for myself is there's an overlap between businesses that fall into commercial and industrial. And you can either make a decision to go over that overlap and include manufacturing and production, or you can go under that overlap and go with general commercial to avoid these higher risk type of businesses. We have been persistent and consistent with our concerns. We have put time, effort, and research into our testimonies. Our concerns are not exorbitant. This is a big change, and once made, this change can't be undone. There are 2 items of interest from my research that I feel may be considered and would help shed light into some of our concerns. And there are 3 items that I found within the GO 2030 plan that I feel are relevant to this. The first from my research is over time, the dates on these are 2014 and 2020, so 10 years ago-ish, and about 4 years ago, Trent as Earthworks Services made requests for interim use permits relating to aggregate mining in Clay County. When they show us examples, they don't show us that, right? They show us these nice, new, fancy buildings that they would want to put there. But that type of use and that type of permitting, that type of vision, you could say, is not what we want. That's what concerns us. Secondly, there are 2 bald eagles that summer and winter in our neighborhood. And while bald eagles are no longer on the endangered list, they are certainly considered protected animals. A change that results in the loss of habitat for these animals is concerning. From the GO 2030 or 23 plan, which is like 280 pages, by the way, if you read through it. The first item that hit home for me was a statement that says, give guidance to landowners and developers. No one wants to build next to a lot with an unknown future. Growth plans exist to assist with reducing this unknown, right? So you know who your neighbor is, you know what you're building next to. In our case, it has a little bit of a twist. Like giving guidance to landowners and developers, no one wants to live next to a lot with an unknown future. What is that vision? What are you planning to do there? Manufacturing and production are big and broad, and there's no vision for this plan. And for me, that future feels unknown about what's being built next to me. There's a great section on trees, highlighting the need to increase the quantity of trees and bolstering landscaping requirements with parking lots. And we want more trees too. It would be a plus to have landscaping and parking lots. Another statement was about impurities in the air from automobiles and the industry. Their statement that they're responsible for an increase in rates of respiratory diseases, particularly among children, again taken from the 2020 or 2030 plan. We don't want industrial. We don't want that extra close to us and our kids. So I think we can all agree that solving zoning isn't simple. If it was, we wouldn't be here after a year. The closeness to the interstate makes it attractive. The closeness to an existing residential area makes it important to be a good neighbor, and also a good city to future Fargo residents. My plea to you is, do you feel confident that industrial is needed? And would you want that type of zoning next to you where you live? In summary, my neighbors and I are the people who have lived here tens of years before this application came to be. And we will be the people who will live here after you decide what can't or can't be built, because we can't move our homes. We ask that you strongly consider our voices and to not have industrial in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have some questions.
Ma'am, would you be up for taking a question?
Sure.
Quick question. Having been up in that area very, very recently, how do you consider it's interesting to me that the houses there look more like rural farm sites because some of them have as many as 3 additional large metal buildings in the back of them. You've got businesses run out of multiple homes along that road. So if I was a developer and we go back to the original thought that this was supposed to be plotted residential, that would be the last place I'd want to put a residential development across the road from what is already there. I hate to say that, because it does not have a residential feeling on the west side of that road. Plus, the other thing is that I haven't heard anybody talk about is, as many years as OP has been there, that you haven't been there, you guys haven't all gotten in an uproar about the junkyard that OP has up there. This is going to be fenced on the back of these lots, if I'm correct, Trent? These lots are going to be fenced on the back?
Well, that's up to the,
John.
We're putting in the buffer.
Okay,
Let's,
okay, but my question, so how do you answer that from somebody driving up there? It'd been many years since I'd been up there, so I drove up there yesterday. And that is not a residential feel across the road, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure how to define residential. It's kind of country living. It would be the description of it, where you are,
Where anything goes.
I don't know how to answer that one to you in terms of everything goes as part of a township. There's our rules or regulations, things that we have to do as well. I guess that the look of it is concerning. That hasn't been anything that has been addressed by City of Riley's Acres or Reed Township with us. As for the buildings, if I could ask for my neighbor to speak on part of it, she has been here a lot longer than me. But these used to be areas with horses. Follow, could you? We have a better answer of the longevity
Well, no,
of it than I can.
I'm just making a comment of what is actually across the road from there now. That's all.
Correct.
Just-
This development started over 50 years ago, before the City of Riley's Acres. It was designed for country living. A lot of the lots you see facing 25th are approximately 5 acres, and they were designed to have horses. So the buildings that you see, or barns and everything that were built, the people that had horses now obviously have gotten older and no longer have them. But what it does give you is acreage and space, and obviously a lot of mature trees.
Could I ask a question?
sure, Scott, go ahead.
So, previously, somebody was up here talking about that 3 of the lots in Prairie Estates looked like probably would fit under or be classified in limited industrial, very similar to what would be on the east side of this tract. What are in those 3 locations that were pointed out?
Could you bring back up the map?
Yeah. The one in the very far north end is Duck Decoy Company. We didn't know anything about this company, building going up. They would have had to receive a permit from City of Riley's Acres for that. The other property that's there is Thorstensen Construction. That they have been in the area for a very, very long time. There's no business conducted there. They have their trucks there, and then obviously they go out to sites.
So I guess my question then is, if there's manufacturing there, which looks like it is on the north one.
Yeah, and that building, that business is currently being sold.
Okay.
So it won't be there anymore.
Okay.
Yep.
But if you're assuming or suggesting somehow that there's a 25% loss in value of home values in the area when you already have some of this within your development, how do you make that? Doesn't that kind of undercut the argument a little bit?
Well, we certainly or not happy with the decoy business because of the fact that it brings in a lot of delivery trucks, but we never had a say in that, okay? And this is part of why we're having the opportunity now to have a say before something, you know.
I guess the
going
point
forward.
is if one lot has a whole bunch of trucks and things parked there in what is intended to be a residential neighborhood, does that detract from the value of the property
There's not,
of
there's,
everybody else?
I mean, there's not per se trucks there. There's delivery trucks that, you know, like UPS.
So
You
on the-
know.
I think to
Yeah.
clarify, on the north side, it's delivery runs that he does. That's the additional
Yeah.
piece. From an outside looking in, there isn't, I don't know what the building looks like up there, to be honest. I haven't been up there.
It's like
but
a
it's
Quonset,
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
So very similar, I guess, to what other buildings are allowed on that area. So from a visual piece, I can't say that it would look much different than a different building by us that
Yeah,
would fit
and
with
I-
residential.
Again, was the only question I had, is if the argument is somehow is that that what might be across the road would reduce the value of the property that's right across, that's existing, and it would look not any different or not much different in some circumstance, how does that support the argument that having this across the road would reduce the value of your property?
Our properties are very unique, and they are in demand. People want to live close enough to the city, but not in the city. They want space. They want a place a building to put their camper in it, or their boat in it, or whatever that means. They can't have that luxury within the city limits.
And do you think that would change just because you have limited industrial 1,000 feet away?
So I would say that is the difference between, I'm gonna be trying polite about it, one messy neighbor. So if you look at that little chunk on the map and you compare that to the intensity and the volume of what will be limited industrial and commercial next to it, it's a vast comparison of one neighbor, one messy neighbor versus an entire section of what could be not just as a Quonset in a building, it could be finished concrete, unfinished concrete, whichever variation that's there. I apologize for not remembering the words. It's a much different view compared to the size of Amazon. So it's a lot of what does the whole space look like and how it fits in, as well as one side of it.
And our houses are all close to the road, you know, and so what we see is out the front, and we have to drive by that every single day as well. Our other buildings and storage buildings are back behind us. But what we're looking at is what do you experience when you're coming into a residential neighborhood? You've got Riley's Acres New Addition, you've got Riley's Acres New Haven, which is even on the other side, and areas to the north, which will also be residential as well. So we hope that helps.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to make comments? Again, please introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Lance Zebarth. I am co-owner of Oz Development and Zebarth Construction, doing business as Econ here in Fargo. I'm a resident of South Fargo. Here in support of the industrial development, I think as you look through what the staff has proposed, you see again and again the words criteria satisfied, correct? And this is, several rounds later. Beyond just criteria satisfied, Trent has negotiated and listened to the folks of Prairie Estates and Riley's Acres numerous times and has made concession after concession after concession. There just comes a point where if staff of the planning department again says criteria satisfied, and you as a commission have looked at this project before and it's only gotten better since then as far as concessions, that to me it only makes sense to approve the project. I think there are some major things here that Trent has presented, the concrete yards, concrete roads. He's doing a first-class development here, which will generate basically no dust. And you're 275 feet from the interstate with the limited industrial. There'd be no appreciable change in air quality or any of these things that are talked about. This will be first class and be easily maintainable. There are other, as Tom Nelson pointed out, there are many other instances where limited industrial and residential are far closer. There's another one that I thought of down by Fox Run in the Case IH area there that are much closer. But I think one of the major things here is also that the drain runs through there. Then you've also got the concessions on the buffer, and you've also, my understanding is now it's going to be evergreen trees, so you've got the year-round site buffer as well. I think those are all really generous concessions that Trent has made again on this to make it palatable. I think as far as the city is concerned, with the I-29 corridor, as we've seen, let's just talk about the I-94 corridor first, especially on the North Dakota side, has really seen some exceptional growth and beautiful development along the interstate. It's a natural place to have limited industrial and general commercial. I think north on I-29 has suffered for a long time from good developments. If you go north of Main Avenue on I-29, especially on the west side of the road, you look at NDSU's got a beef barn there. There's Northern Plains Steel, and then even south of there, that whole development hasn't been done very nice. And this development, as Trent has proposed, it will be done first class. Again, I think that the buffer and the drain offer basically the step down that you're looking for in this type of the step down development. You've got limited industrial out next to the interstate. You've got general commercial as a concession, and then you've basically got to step down by that very wide buffer in between to the residential. So in my opinion, this is good development for the city, and again, it should be approved. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Anyone else? Please introduce yourself for the record.
Hello, my name is Maria Goryacheva. I am a professor at UND with the Department of Chemical Engineering, and by training, I am a materials expert. I study the materials, I synthesize them, I characterize them, and use for various kinds of applications. On my daily basis, for the most part, I also educate future engineers, for the most part, either chemical or mechanical engineers, and I know from my own experience that visualization is the best and most productive tool in convincing people. So earlier today, you've been shown quite a few images of fancy-looking buildings. But I would like to emphasize the difference between a general commercial business that is placed on a limited industrial zone versus a manufacturing operation. In my career, I have to visit a lot of industrial places, specifically manufacturing places, from light to heavy, and I haven't seen these fancy buildings that you've seen today. Those are excellent examples of successful, generally commercial businesses. But manufacturing operation is very different. The reason it looks different is because it poses danger. Any manufacturing operation generates waste. Gas, solids, liquids, and fugitive emissions. Those are dangerous. When they are not escaping in the environment, they are not dangerous. But when that happens, in the circumstances of malfunction, they become extremely dangerous. So for that specific reason, we do not place whatever industrially classified operation, light or heavy, next to the residential area. With this specific proposal, we are considering an example in such as manufacturing operation can be placed in a very close proximity to a residential area. For me, for an engineer with a background and years of training, 1,000 feet is a very short distance. It is an extremely short distance for a particle to travel accelerated by the wind. It will cross the distance and it will be on the resident's yard. That's the reality of it. I also became privy to the email communications between Mr. Kress and Miss Kyla Schneider, who is an environmental specialist with the Department of Air Quality Control. As I familiarized myself with a lot of statements in those emails, I had to reach out to her directly to clarify a few things that stood out for me. And I will have to bring them to your attention. Specifically, cement crushing operation, along with a lot more operations, does not require a permit in North Dakota State. The implication of that is that these facilities are not inspected on a regular basis. They still have to comply with all existing regulations, but at the same time, the department cannot inspect the facility on a regular basis. So what is the solution in this situation? The department may inspect the facility if they receive a complaint from the adjacent residents, if the residents believe that there is a malfunction or if they are violating regulations. So since we talked a lot about the cement crushing operation, I would like to use that as an example. For the residents to witness that there is a malfunction, that means that they will have to see the cement dust on their property. By the time you see cement dust, that means that you've been exposed to billions of nanoparticles. Those particles, you basically just swallow and inhale those particles. They travel through your body, they enter all of your main organs, stomach, liver, colon, and that's what leads to cancer. Numerous research shows that the particles, they sediment in the tissue, muscle tissue, bone tissue. So it is an extremely dangerous circumstances. By the time I personally see the dust on my property, I wouldn't be considering complaining. At that point, the only right decision is to relocate because you are that close to the danger. And I will emphasize once again, cement crushing operation is not the only operation that is not on that list. There are actually very few operations that are listed by the NDAC 33.1. So I would also like to envision the circumstances under which the developer in his original application does not disclose the industrial operation. So at that time it was cement crushing operation. So if the rezoning takes place, the cement crushing facility can be placed right away without obtaining any permits. Because it does not need a permit, it would not be inspected on a regular basis. What if the developer learned the lesson and this time, to avoid any potential implications, files an application without specific industrial businesses that would come into that place? We don't have to envision it. This is the reality. This is the application you are considering today. Thank you.
Comments?
Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Morell. I'm a North Dakota physician. I work here at the Fargo VA, and I also serve as chairman for the University of North Dakota Department of Radiology. And I'm also a member of Riley's Acres. So as a member of Riley's Acres, I just want to make it clear that Riley's Acres is strongly opposed to today's proposition. That can be further explained by the letter in your packet from our city mayor. I have spoken to you previously, mainly about the dangerous consequences of prolonged proximity to industrial operations. We started with cement dust and following extensive unfavorable data, have pivoted to other options. However, it should be understood that nearly all industrial processes generate waste. This waste will cause environmental contamination in the neighboring area. I can't comment on the specifics as the proprietor has been unwilling to reveal that information. Regardless, I can tell you that risk will remain. It will be difficult to contain, to monitor, and to regulate. Now, importantly, this risk cannot be reduced by reducing the concentration. So that is not hyperbole, and the reason that is the duration of exposure. If you live in the community, even if you're exposed to a very small portion of whatever it may be, that risk will compound over time. So exposure happens day after day, week after week, year after year. So even when it's very small, it stacks over time. So when will disease develop? Well, it may take 1 year, it may take 5, it may take 20. As a physician, I don't feel comfortable with any of those timelines. To the citizens that have their domiciles in the neighborhood, we are the proverbial rats in the cage. The simple fact that a cement crushing operation was even on the table at one point is a gargantuan red flag. This would have been an extremely dangerous outcome for the community. Further, it speaks to the motivations of those who helped it gain traction. Whether due to malicious intent or simply ignorance, I don't know. What I do know is I am uneasy about similar mistakes being repeated in the future. I am uneasy about the next quote-unquote cement crushing operation, the next version under the umbrella of manufacturing and production. In 2014, Trent Duda publicly and officially stood against industrial development occurring near his house. He may stand here and retroactively split hairs about the level of industrial, but what happened, happened. He was clearly aware of the danger that can come with this type of zoning. Trent was protesting just as we, the citizens, are now. I guess ethics go out the window when there's money to be made. That all being said, let's look at this from another angle. Let's be pragmatic. This proposition is minimally changed from its prior failure. Residential neighborhoods are expanding both to the north and to the west of the land in question. This will be an isolated island of industrial land. This proposition is against the North Fargo growth plan. It is against the analysis for housing need. It will negatively impact large North Fargo businesses, such as the Veterans Hospital and NDSU. It will also negatively impact the growth of North Fargo schools. This proposition is against being a good neighbor to the city of Riley's Acres. So let me leave you with a question. What is this really about? Is general commercial not lucrative enough? Is this about providing the maximum financial benefit for the proprietor? Or conversely, is this about planning the best outcome for the community? If so, then general commercial is the logical compromise, which provides the best outcome when considering all parties, including strategic planning for the city. That is all I have. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Thanks for your comments. Are there additional testifiers? Can I get a show of hands on how many more we have? Is there anyone else after that? Okay, this will be our last speaker then. And we'll take a short break after this before we go back to discussion.
My name is Jeff Oden. I built a house in Riley's 9th in 2017. My property is one of the closest to this development. I'm here in support of the development. When I first built, I envisioned that property being built on one day. I guess I really never thought of it ever being residential, because if you look around up and down the interstates, you really don't ever see commercial or residential along the interstates. So if I had an opinion, I would have assumed that it was going to be something commercial or light industrial, not like heavy industrial like talked about. But in my career, I've worked in a lot of shops. I do automotive repair, body work, and paint. Over the years, I've always seen houses close to light industrial and commercial. I think it's normal. And I think the proposition here is normal and appropriate, actually. As far as like I know there was talk of the concrete crushing plant, and I've personally seen it in my work. I never had a concern of it because I've seen the water that they use, and in my opinion, I thought driving your road, or driving down the highways that are in the interstates that are getting worked on, and they cut the concrete, they blow it all over the place. You probably get more exposure from that or a driveway getting cut than I think you do a concrete crushing plant. That's just my opinion. As far as Riley's, I know a lot of people in Riley's Ninth that really have no opposition to this. A lot of them just assume that this is going to get approved. That's their opinion, so that's all I really got.
Good, sir, would you mind, did you have a question?
Yeah, can you point on the map or describe what Riley's Ninth is?
Riley's Ninth is on the south side of 20. My property is right there, to the right of that, all the way down. So my property faces a potential commercial or light industrial property, which is within, I think there's a 20-foot buffer. So I potentially have a property behind me within 20 feet that could either be commercial or light industrial. We don't know yet.
That this one?
So when we talk about a 300 and a 900-foot division, I think that's appropriate, especially with a natural barrier like he's talking.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Sir, looks like you're ready. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Dennis Hoy, I live in Riley's Acres, 9th edition, I'm right west of Jeff. And I'm right on County 20. I was in the crushing and screening business with my dad since I was 3 years old. I'm 67 years old right now, and I feel pretty good for 67 years old. And then I transitioned into the asphalt paving business totally. And I've been around asphalt paving since I was 6 years old too. And my health is pretty good yet for 67 years old. I don't think anything's wrong with what Trent wants to do. And I'm for 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. We try to take a break every hour, and we'll come back. Just take maybe a 5-10 minute break. Urge everybody not to discuss the item up here until we get back for discussion. Otherwise, we'll take a break now. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. I'll just check one more time. Does anybody else in the audience wish to say anything? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. There was one clarification that staff noted that they wanted to add an additional item on. Mark, is there a clarification on the billboard question?
Yeah, it's been a little bit since we worked on this. The property, the overlay says no more than 4 billboards. 3 of them can be digital. And the reason for that is the property adjacently north and northeast corner on that property line, there's a digital billboard. So when you look at the sign code, the required setbacks for digital billboards from another digital billboard will not allow for. Just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Commissioners? Discussion? Motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Shui, thank you.
sorry, this is, sorry to step over you there. This is Brett Shuey. First of all, thank you to everyone there in the room and that have been in many rooms. This is really a testament to the value of the process when looking at this. And I think we have seen some good results come from that, such as the changes on the trees and planting those immediately. For me, this really comes down to a decision on that Lot 9 and the change to move that to a general commercial. That's why I will be supporting this, as I think this puts the development then with a contained limited industrial that will protect the neighbors and future neighbors to the west by having a very delineated step down from LI to GC in addition to the significant setback and buffer zone that has been put into place. I would suggest we look only across the interstate at the very rapid development of the LI space over there to show as a testament to how well developers and the planning department and planning code can create a very viable and attractive LI area. And I think that's another reason why I would say the vision comments that were made as well, that really is why we've got the code and the conditional overlays in here to help provide that vision that has much improved over the last year in different iterations. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Shui.
All right, you looking for a motion?
Sure.
I'll make the motion to accept the findings of staff as presented in our packets.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion?
I would second the comment of Commissioner Shui. When this came up before, he had suggested making that change, and then we did not do it when we passed the motion. So I think with that change and the additional effort to buffer the area, I would agree with the motion.
Seeing no other discussion, we'll take the roll.
Holtz,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Again, item 3 is continued, and so we'll go on to item 4. And this is Donald.
Yes, sir. Item 4 is the Autumn Fields 3rd Edition. This is located here on 32nd Avenue South and 42nd Street. You probably recognize this corner here as Coda Bank. Here are just some shots of the property here on 32nd Avenue here. Development there, and then looking diagonally across the property, there is an existing detention basin. The property is zoned general commercial. There is no zone change proposed. There is no overlay here. And this is simply a combination of several of the parcels here. This large lot here, Lot 1, Block 8 of Autumn Fields Edition, has been split off through deed splits through a few lots here. Again, Coda Bank, a couple other businesses here. And the owners now are just going to formally plat it into several lots. As you see, there are a couple access easements. There's a drainage easement here. Just going through our platting process to make it a formal subdivision plat. Again, pretty straightforward. Mr. Rob Lingstad of Matrix Properties is with us this afternoon, representing the ownership group. And again, just a straightforward plat there. Staff's recommendation for approval is stated in the staff report and shown on your screen. That concludes our presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Any questions for Donald? Seeing none. Mr. Linkstead, do you have anything to add?
Rob Linkstead, Matrix Properties. Just if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Any questions? Seeing none.
I like these simple, you know. Works great.
Thanks for your patience. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I'll make a motion to accept the findings of staff.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye.
Thank you,
Motion
Commissioners.
Passes. Thank you, Donald.
Thank you very much.
Invite Elena up here for item 6, so it's not the all Donald show tonight.
Got to share some fame.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. I'm Elena Espeseth, and today I will be presenting Laverne's 4th edition, agenda item number 6. This is a minor subdivision. The subject property is located at 3033, 3101, and 3181 43rd Street North, and 3030, 3100, and 3190 42nd Street North. For reference, this is 45th Street, Riley's Acres, and Hector International Airport. The top image was taken facing northwest, looking across the subject property from the intersection of 30th Avenue North and 42nd Street North. The bottom image was taken facing southeast across the subject property from the intersection of 32nd Avenue and 43rd Street North. The subject property is currently zoned LI and no zone changes proposed. The applicant is requesting one entitlement, a replat of lots 1 through 6, Block 3, Laverne's 2nd edition, into a 1-lot, 1-block minor subdivision entitled Laverne's 4th edition. To date, staff has received no inquiries or concerns regarding the subject property. Brian Pattengale is here on behalf of the applicant. And staff's recommendation is for approval. Please cast your vote on the recommendation shown on the screen. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thanks. Any questions for Elena? Nope. Mr. Pattengale? Did you measure how close this was to a residential parcel?
Nor did I actually for this presentation.
Almost asked. Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Anyone else in the audience? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the findings of staff as presented.
John, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Art. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Elena. Donald couldn't let you have the last word, so he's back up.
Okay, sir. Well, I'll tell you what, I learned a lesson at the city commission last night here. So
Oh, it's because I spoke. So what,
Yes,
what
sir.
did you learn from me?
Actually, always an inspiration, sir.
Okay.
We're going to start out with the very large picture here when we talk about these annexations. So what we're going to be talking about here, this is a non-hearing item. As you might recall, item 1 and 2 there was the North Point Industrial Edition. If you look at your staff report for this, it should just be North Point Industrial Edition. The park sneaked in there. It is not park, it's just industrial edition. As I stated in that presentation, this involves the annexation of a property. Here is the subject property here. It is in Fargo's extraterritorial jurisdiction, which is the green. The yellow is the city of Fargo city limits. And so, and then this line here is County Drain 45, goes under the railroad. So again, this is in the ETJ. And then we'll go back to our presentation here. From the beginning, whoops. Sorry. Goes back to the beginning.
Well, the GIS was nice.
Well, it was a good recommendation to start out on a large scale so your commission can see how this all relates here. So here again, a close-up of the subject property here, which also includes an area on the full width of 19th Avenue here. So there'd be dedication for 19th Avenue. Here's that plat again. Some of this area along 57th, this area along 57th, and this is that little West Fargo lot down here that we talked about in item 1. This was annexed when Veterans Industrial Edition was annexed. So again, as you saw here, this is along major arterials, 19th Avenue and 57th, which will be improved in the future here. They are currently not paved roads, but they will be improved in the future here. And the floodway on this is going to be remapped, I believe, as part after the diversion is taken care of. So this is a developable property. It's in the path of our development here. When you look at the growth plan, you see that it is like the property across the street was zoned industrial and commercial. When we're going to as limited industrial zoning, that's fine to do that. We just leave those land use designations as they are because that'll work for that. And this is off the 2007 growth plan here, as you probably recognize. And so when we come to your review of this, commissioners, we just ask that you find the proposed annexation of portions of section 29 and 32. And just so you know, 19th Avenue is a section line. So this is the part of section 29, and this little strip down here is part of section 32. You see the section 32 down there. So it's mostly section 29. To be consistent with the 2007 growth plan.
Go ahead.
Don, I have a question about the drain.
Yes, sir.
So by putting that into the city, does the city have responsibility, or is that drain going away?
The drains are property of the Southeast Castwater Resources District. For a detailed answer to your question, Commissioner, I'm going to ask Nathan Boardman to what that answer is.
Yeah, so as Donald mentioned, that is a legal drain owned by the Southeast Castwater Resource District, and it will remain in place, and the ownership and maintenance responsibilities of it is Southeast Cass.
So even though it just becomes the part, city of Fargo, it doesn't matter. It's already, the agreement's already in place.
Yep. We have a agreement overall with Southeast Cass because there's multiple legal drains going through the city that they own and operate that we have storm sewer outfalls going into. So it's a fairly common occurrence.
Thank you.
Don, one other quick question.
Yes, sir.
Is 19th proposed with what West Fargo's doing to eventually continue to go straight west? Or Nate,
You
I
can take
assume
that
that's the case?
You can take
as
that one
things
too,
grow?
Mr. Boardman.
So is your question the roadway configuration on 19th Avenue that's to the east? And is it going to continue that same kind of cross section or
To the west?
west?
Is that the thought?
Yeah, some way it will. As we progress west, it will be entering into West Fargo's jurisdiction. So
Right.
we have not had those conversations with West Fargo quite yet with what the long-term road may look like, but it will be, as Donald mentioned, paved and then approved here as part of this proposed subdivision up to at least the drain. And long-term, I anticipate it'll continue west, being in the urbanized road section as well.
So, just a quick question. We have just a little chunk of our ET J left, right? Or this is the last?
Well,
Of
we
it?
go back to our GIS here. So that is this piece
Yeah,
here.
so I
And
mean-
then RETJ goes here, and then on the south side, it goes a little farther over.
Do we ever in our ETJ, don't we talk about saying that that's a proposed roadway or a future? I mean, why don't we? I'm just curious as a practice.
Well, yeah,
You know-
I
you
think
know-
this is already on there. This was already laid out here on the growth plan. I don't know if Mr. Williams had any more questions.
Yeah, so 19th Avenue is a section line road, so it is going to
Okay.
be designated as an arterial roadway within Fargo, and I anticipate West Fargo will do
Okay,
the same
that-
as we
that's-
approach
that's-
County Road 17.
That was my only question.
Thanks. Then, anyone want to make a motion?
I move to approve with the motion of the staff report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Is this a roll call one?
Yes, sir.
Please take the roll.
Gunkelman,
Aye.
Shui,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Stoffren,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Schneider.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Anything else for us, staff? Nicole, you've gone the whole meeting? We're good? Okay. We're adjourned.